Hello, dear. It's Heather. You're watching Save Today with Heather J. I am somebody who has spent her entire adult life living paycheck to paycheck and being one life event away from financial crisis. I've said that in all of my videos so far, but what does that really mean, one financial event away from financial crisis? Well, if you have watched my previous videos, again, I'm brand new, so there's all of 3 previous videos, but you will have seen in my monthly setup that I have a monthly budget that is already in the red. I have made some adjustments and will be making some adjustments as I move forward, but if I'm having a monthly budget that's in the red, how do I handle a life event? What life event? Well, what if I needed to replace the tires on my car? What if somebody in my family got sick and needed to get some prescriptions from the pharmacist? What if there was an emergency with a family member out of state and I had to fly and go and handle that? There isn't any flexibility in my budget. There's not a single thing set aside in savings to help with those. So anytime I need to replace the car or the tires, or I need to get an oil change, this is a crisis that needs to quickly be averted and scrambled, and screws up any attempt at trying to live within my means. And so obviously that is not sustainable. I've managed to make it this far, but it's, and honestly, I've only managed to make it as far as I have because I have family who is able and willing to help out in times of need. Because that is the behavior I have had modeled for me, that is the behavior I carry forward within my own immediate family. So I'm trying to get out of that. I'm trying to get to where those life events are no longer crisis. They're planned for, and they're just another thing. They're just another bill, and they are handled just as simply as going to get grocery or filling up the tank with gas. So that is where I'm headed. That's the attempt. I am by no means some sort of financial guru, and if you're looking for somebody to teach you all the secrets and the ins and outs of saving and investing, I'm definitely not that person. But if you're somebody who is or has been a struggling single parent, a young adult working with minimum wage paycheck, how are we going to survive? I've done all those things, and that's what I'm here trying to get past. And so if you're in that boat, if that is something that sounds familiar to you, if you're interested in following along as somebody tries to get ahead, go ahead and subscribe and follow on this journey, and let's see where we end up. So today I'm filming my week 2 spending check-in. Again, I've just brand new starting this journey. The month of May is my absolute first schedule or budget that I have written down. I've got this book special for it, and I'm sharing that journey with you. So this is quite literally week 2 of my journey into financial freedom. This week for me is from the 28th of April to the 4th of May. This is my second week in my May budget, but it's the first week of actual May. And that's because I have chosen to start my first week. My rent is due on the 1st of every month. That's going to come out on the 1st. So that has to be, that paycheck has to be the first paycheck of the month for me. Otherwise, I will be forever having late fees within my rent. So for me, the month of May started April 21st, and it's going to go to May, I believe it's May 18th, whatever that Friday is, for the second paycheck. So today we're going over week 2 spending. For my flexible spending, I have chosen to track groceries, dining out, transportation, and miscellaneous. After only doing this for 2 weeks, I can see that there's another category I might potentially need to add to that, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. For right now, I just have, I didn't have much money left after paying my bills and the little bit of spending I did in week 1. So I didn't spend anything in week 2 until yesterday, Thursday. I knew I was getting paid Friday. I chose to take myself or order in Jimmy John's for lunch at work yesterday. I had, I don't know, $20 left in my account, and I chose to spend $14.43 on that, ordering myself a sandwich and chips and a drink and having that delivered to work. I did not have any leftovers left that I could have taken to work to eat in the fridge. And I didn't really want to fix myself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich again. Would have been the 4th time this week having a peanut butter and jelly sandwich at work. If I wasn't getting paid the next day and didn't know that I was going to have a little bit of a break, I would have had that peanut butter and jelly sandwich and some stale chips for lunch, and it would have been fine. I'm very used to not spending when there's no money. So that's not hard. Did I make a foolish choice by spending what little bit of money I had on one meal instead of perhaps getting, I don't know, maybe some milk from the grocery store and some lunch meat perhaps? Maybe, but that is a choice I made, and that is what it is. The only other spending I had was the weather was nice enough twice for me to take the bus. Each time that is $1. So I won't go take the bus to work when it's raining or snowing or 33 degrees out or the wind is blowing, because I don't have to at this point in my life. There were times where I was on the bus for several years at a stretch, and rain or shine, 112 degrees, pouring down rain, I still had to do that. I'm grateful that I'm no longer in that position. And so that's all I had. Those 2 transactions for this entire week. So does that mean that's the end of my video? I just had 2 transactions. Thanks, goodbye. No, not necessarily, because I realized that when I did my first week's check-in, I actually did my carryover math incorrectly over here. Initially, again, my very first time, so there's a lot of learning and readjusting, but I set this up for the month, but I was actually doing my math just for that pay period. And so that's not going to counterbalance. So we will correct this math and then we will carry this math forward. When I set this up, I did not have my other phone to do my math with, and now I do. So I had to do that all ahead of time on my last thing and not do this on here. I don't know if that will work out better or not. But so last week I had spent $64.60 in groceries. I had given myself $90 a week for a total of $360 for the month for groceries, and I only spent $64.60 of that. So I actually have $295.40 here for groceries for the rest of the month. Where's my clear? Just hold that longer. Yes. In dining out, I had given myself, I had estimated $15 a week at 4 weeks for a total of $60. That's clearly looking like that's not going to be enough. I do choose to go out more than just $15 a week. Last week I went out 3 times for a total of $22.90, which leaves me with only $37.10 left in my estimated budget for dining out for the month. And because I am aware that I choose to order lunch more often than that. That will have to be adjusted as we go forward in order to be more realistic. Additionally, I am going to have to cut back the amount I go out, but $15 a week is just not realistic for me right now. I had budgeted $20 a week for gas for a total of $80 for the 4 week in May. And I spent in this first week $35.71. Oh, that's not what we're trying to do. Minus $35.71, which leaves me with $44.29. Oh, I did that wrong. That's not in the right spot there. Leaves me with $44.29 for the rest of a month for gas and buses. And then in miscellaneous, I had budgeted myself $10 a week for a total of $40 a month. That very first week, I spent $41.69. So I've already gone over that by $1.69. That's the wrong color. $1.69. I'm negative. And I have plans to go out and go buy other things that at this point fall underneath the category of miscellaneous. And so we'll discuss that here in a little bit. That is why I'm considering having to do an additional category for myself. I am a creative person who does a lot with fabric. I do some quilting stuff. I do some apparel sewing. I'm currently working on this laundry bag that's behind us. But each project, ultimately, anybody who is a creative person, or even perhaps people who work on cars and things, there's always the next tool you need, the next supply you need, that next little bit of, whatever. And so that turns out to be more than I just didn't think about how much I spend on that. So we will probably have to either give myself a larger budget for miscellaneous to account for those things, or give myself a separate sewing related budget, or as I learn more about sinking funds and what those are, which right now it's just a term I've heard and not something I really have a lot of information about, but potentially I then set up a sinking fund for my sewing stuff. I don't know how that will work out, but that is something that I have learned in this process of doing this each week and sharing this with you guys and watching those other channels. So what did I spend for this first, what's my leftover? So I started my $360 plus for dining, or for groceries, plus the $60 for dining out, plus the $80 for transportation, plus the $40 for miscellaneous, gives me a total of $540 a month I thought I might spend in miscellaneous spending. This first week I spent $164.99, which leaves me with $375.01 for the rest of the month. So now that we fixed my error from my week 1 check-in, we can continue on to the rest of week 2's check-in. So I did not spend anything else in groceries this week. So my carryover is $295.40. I currently am in a situation where I have another adult living in the household with me, and that person was able to get any of the groceries that we needed. There was a time in my life where I was the only adult and I was a single mom with 2 kids. So if I didn't have enough money for groceries in this week, in those previous weeks, and I didn't have somebody else to be able to get groceries, well, what could I have done to have altered this week? In the past, there's a couple of different options I may have taken, and I may have done both at once. I certainly have in the past gone and found the various different food banks and gone to get groceries from them. It's not something I needed to do now because I did have the option of the other adult in my household. But if you're somebody who is on a very low income and find yourself in that week unexpectedly, or the tires came or the prescriptions came, there are groups out there that will help provide food for people in need. Typically it's one time a month. I've never needed to go over and over and over again to get that, but that's an option for somebody who is really struggling. The other option I could have done and would have in months past is I could potentially have called and asked to have one of my bills postponed to the following paycheck, which for this month was either a credit card payment for $100 and or my U-Haul boxes. I could have had that postponed. I also in the past have simply not paid my rent until that following paycheck and just known I was going to have whatever the late fees were. Sometimes there's communication with the landlord ahead of time. Hey, this is what's going on. This is why I can't do it. And sometimes you just get the late check when you get the late check. Thankfully, again, I didn't have to do that this pay period, but that is something that I have had to do in the past, and could potentially have to do in the future because there's no room for tires. So just know that that's an option for anybody who finds themselves in that situation and happens to be watching this channel. All right. I wonder if I can find a way to make that stay on so that I don't have to keep rebooting that. So my dining out, I had $37.10 left in my dining out category from week 1, and I spent $14.40. And I minus $14.43 in week 2, which leaves me with $22.67 for the rest of the month. Now, if I had needed to go and get a food box from a food bank, I would not have made this decision to spend this $14.43 on lunch yesterday. I am aware that that is a foolish decision, and I would not have made that kind of a foolish decision in that kind of a crisis point. And then for transportation, I had $44.29. I only spent $2 of my money by taking the bus twice, which leaves me with $42.29. My son did put gas in the car twice in the 2-week pay period, once last week and once this week. So again, we're in a situation where I have another adult who shares the car, who is able to make those payments when I cannot. And then in miscellaneous, I did not spend anything for miscellaneous this week, so I am still $1.69 negative in my miscellaneous category. And that is where we are at weekly check-in number 2. So not a whole lot of spending. Oh, I guess I need to figure out how to turn the shut-off off. So I need to add up the amount I did spend this week, which is the $14.43 plus the 2. So I spent $16.43 this pay period. And if I take the $375.01, $375.01 that I had left from last week, and I take away the $16.43 I spent this week, I am left with $358.58 for the next 2 weeks in this pay period. I am going this evening to Joann's to buy some more things for this laundry bag that I'm working on that you see behind you there. So my miscellaneous is going to get further and further in the negative as we go forward. I am going to be going to get some groceries. And I will likely end up putting gasoline in the car at least once this next week. So that is where we're at for my weekly check-in number 2. And then again, I have chosen to bring my after work personality into this channel. And so anybody who's interested in what I'm working on craft-wise can stay around now. This is the laundry bag I've been working on all month. I have added, one thing I don't like about any kind of fabric laundry bag type situations that I've seen at the store or I've tried to use in the past is there's never really any support to hold the weight of that. As you're shoving all that stuff in there, the bottom ends up popping out, or you end up with this strap that breaks because there's no support built in to hold the weight of that. So when I decided to create this one, I wanted to make sure I had some straps, and those straps I wanted to go from the top, underneath the bottom, and around the middle, and then I wanted to have two different areas around the side. So that's what you see here is these straps. I did get this bottom sewn onto the bag last time you saw it. This was all separate, so this is all sewn together. I just have to figure out how I'm going to get these pieces sewn, and then I have to go up the back side here. This has been very challenging for me mentally and physically. If I were to turn this into a pattern and make that available to others who wanted to follow what I was going to do, I would need to make some changes, because what I'm doing with this strapping and support is not being very user friendly. And making patterns with my work is something that is a potential opportunity in the horizon. So everything I do for myself, and then in the back of my mind with the possibility of, could this be something I shared with others? I think that's all I'm going to talk about this one today. So that is it for week 2 check-in. If you enjoyed what you were seeing, go ahead and click subscribe, follow me along, both for my financial journey and for the creative portion of that. Obviously, if you have any questions moving forward, anything I didn't clarify, please reach out. And otherwise, I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is Heather, and you're watching Save Today with Heather J. Have fun today. Bye-bye now.